friend and colleague from New Jersey, and it's hard to contain our emotion appropriately on the Senate floor. This is a moment that every American should be outraged about, and every American should be angry. And not only angry about what happened to Senator Padilla, but fearful for our democracy, because we are at a crossroads when it comes to the rule of law and respect for our democracy and our Constitution in the United States of America. I felt compelled to cancel the rest of my meetings this evening to come right here to the floor to join my colleagues in speaking out, not just for a fellow senator, but for the future of the rule of law and due process in the United States of America. I had to rewind that video like 3 or 4 times to see if this was really happening. And I saw the earlier video come out of him being essentially dragged out of the room, roughed up, and then the other video of him lying on his stomach, handcuffed, with people standing around him. Mr. President, then the lies went out. Senator from New Jersey just mentioned it. I'm reading this statement from the Department of Homeland Security. Senator Padilla chose disrespectful political theater, interrupted a live press conference without identifying himself. That's a lie. Just look at the video. You can see him coming in and saying, "I'm Senator Padilla, the senior senator from California." He wanted to ask a question. We all have a lot of questions. He's the United States Senator. He should be able to ask a question about what's happening in his state of California. You know, we had the President of the United States just a few weeks ago, in response to a question, say he wasn't sure if he had to comply with the Constitution of the United States. The President of the United States, who's sworn to take an oath to uphold the Constitution, said he wasn't sure if he had to comply with the Constitution. You have senior administration officials like Steve Miller talking about suspending habeas corpus in the United States of America. Habeas corpus is the core to due process that makes sure that people cannot be deprived of their liberty without a fair trial and a fair hearing. And here we have Alex Padilla going in to ask a question, and he's tackled, he's roughed up, he's dragged out of the room, he's put on the floor and handcuffed. This is a president who also the other day, when asked if he would arrest the governor of California or whether his people should arrest the governor of California, he said, "Yeah, I think maybe they should." Think about that. This is an administration that arrested the mayor of a major city. This is lawless behavior from this administration. This is what a dictatorship looks like. This is what happens when one person tries to grab all the power. When they say, "I don't know if I have to comply with the Constitution of the United States." The Constitution of the United States is designed to have checks and balances. It's designed to make sure that our liberties are protected. The Bill of Rights protect all of us. And yet you see the President of the United States and his henchmen and his henchwomen trampling over due process, trampling over the First Amendment in the country, and trampling on a United States senator from California who said, "Madam Secretary, I have a question." I'm looking forward to hearing about what question Senator Padilla wanted to ask, because I know Senator Padilla, and I know he had a good question to ask of the Secretary of Homeland Security, but he didn't get a chance. This was a press conference. Secretary of Homeland Security is taking questions. The United States Senator representing the people of that state, elected to represent the people of that state, he had a question. He didn't get to ask it because he was dragged out of the room and thrown on the floor and arrested. I want to know what that question was going to be. And I know that Senator Padilla will tell us. We'll probably find out then why the Secretary of Homeland Security didn't want to hear the question. Because this administration wants to shut down questions except for from the journalists that they like. They belittle journalists who ask them any question that they see as critical. That's also what authoritarian leaders do. They push aside the people who ask hard but meaningful questions and just call on the people that will ask them the slow ball question. You've already seen this at play in the Oval Office during press conferences that the president has. He goes, "Oh, I like that reporter." "Oh, that's a terrible question." What he means is it's a question that he doesn't like. And usually the questions he doesn't like are questions that are right on target and go to the heart of what's happening in our country. And so Senator Padilla had a question. He just didn't get a chance to answer it. Now, I want to build on another point my colleagues have made, and that is a real appeal to our Senate Republican colleagues. Because in these first months, 4 or 5 months of the Trump administration, we've seen the actions of a lawless president. You know, it's unprecedented in the United States to have over 260 lawsuits filed in federal courts, right? This doesn't happen normally. It's because of the massive law breaking that we've seen going on. Attacks on civil liberties, attacks on due process as part of that, attacks on the First Amendment, the illegal withholding of funds that have been appropriated by the Congress. The courts can't do it alone, colleagues. Every member of this body is sworn to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution, the President of the United States now says he's not sure if he has to comply with it. I believe senators here want to take those constitutional responsibilities seriously. But if we're going to do that, we have to stand up at moments like this. Not Democratic senators alone, but Republican senators too. Because if you let the executive do this to Senator Alex Padilla today, some other executive, some other president can do it to somebody else tomorrow. If you can do this to Senator Alex Padilla, imagine how vulnerable other citizens and others in this country are to this kind of tyranny and abuse. So I hope this will be a moment, Mr. President, where people come together and stand up and say, regardless of policy differences on different issues, we're all here to debate those issues and disagree, but there's some things that we should consider fundamental and sacrosanct. And that is the idea of rule of law and due process. And what we witnessed here was the outrage that we are come to see in countries with authoritarian leaders. That's what we witnessed. And it's a pattern. But today was the most graphic example to date where a United States senator was essentially taken down as he introduced himself and said, "I have a question." So I have a question for all of our colleagues. What are we going to do about it? Who are we? What do we stand for? Are we going to uphold the Constitution? So I'm looking forward to hearing the question Senator Padilla wanted to ask, but I also ask all of us a question. And that is, are we going to use this moment to stand up for decency and to stand up for the fair treatment of every American? And I yield the floor.
Correct, as a senator from Connecticut.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with my friend from Maryland. This has to be a moment where we just drop our political affiliations, where we decide